Oh, Goranga. Hare Krishna, nice to see everybody. Can you hear me okay? Yes? No? Okay, good. Jai Gaur is here too.
Hare
Good.
Krishna Prabhu. Please accept my humble obeisances to Dr. Srila Prabhupada. I can hear you.
Good, thank you. So Dorothea, is that how you say your name? Looks like she just lost your connection. Oh, there she is. Dorothea, is that how we say your name?
Prabhu, your picture is frozen and your audio is breaking up. Hare Krishna. Yes, it's perfect. Like you said. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So Dorothea is our guest today, so everybody should be nice to her. Nice welcome to her session. So why don't we go ahead and begin? Gauragraganya gana gocha goloruharam Gauranga gudatama gopyada kolpa briksham Gopala gada ratidam Yati singha gora govinda deshi kavaram satatam namami Uttama adama kichuna bachila jachiya dile kakola kahe premananda himona gauranga hridaya dariya bola bhaja gauranga kaha gauranga laha gaurangera namare Jai Jana Gauranga Bhaje Se Hoyamara Pranare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Yashaiva Padambuja Bhakti Labhya Prema-bhakti-candrika Purusham Parama-purusham Tasmai Jagan Mangala Mangalaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste Madgavirapi Gopala Sri Kriyat Kripaya Jadi Tadaiva Sambhaya Pidvari Shayustat Priya Janaha Sri Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Sasanatana Rupaka Gopala Raghunathapta Brajabala Bapahima Vanchakalpatarubhischa Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Brinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, nice to see everyone. I'm sorry we didn't have a session last week. Let's go ahead and recite our prayer for Narottam Das Thakur. Shri Krishna Nama Amrita Varshi Vaktra Chandra Prabhadvasta Tamo Badaya Gauranga Deva Anucharaya Namo Namah Srila Narottamaya. Again and again I offer my obeisances unto Srila Narottam Das Thakur. He's indeed a true follower of Lord Gauranga Dev, The nectarian shower of the holy name of Krishna radiating from the moon of his mouth destroys the darkness of ignorance. So we've been going really slow on this. This is from the fifth song. We're looking at the eighth stanza. The fifth song is called Raghunuga Bhakti Riti, which speaks about looking into the path of Raghunuga Bhakti. And this eighth stanza, we've been going over it for so long because it's often quoted by different Gaudiya Vaishnavas as one of their main pramanas, actually, for practicing Astakaliya Smarana in Siddha-pranali. So this is our eighth session. We've been speaking something about Nam Kirtan and Siddha-pranali. And just looking back a little bit, our purpose has been to look at what Shastra says and to look at what our acharyas say, not just what some contemporary persons say. There's different traditions, we acknowledge that, but Shastra overwhelmingly, and our acharyas actually exclusively, not even overwhelmingly, but exclusively speak about the process to understand one's siddha deha, or spiritual body, is through Nam Kirtan. So Narottam Das Thakur describes in this verse, Yugala Charana Sevi Nirantara E Bhavi, that this is my desire when I want to practice this path of Raghunuga Bhajan. I want to always render service to the lotus feet of the divine couple, Nirantara E Bhavi, continuously. And he says that on this path, Anuraga Taki Be Sadoy, that whatever it is that I'm contemplating, whatever it is that I have anurag or attachment for on this path of sadhana, then that's what I'm going to achieve. Sadhana bhavi bhajaha siddha-dehe pabataha. That's what I'm going to achieve in my siddha-deha. Ragapatir ese upai. This is the path, or the process of the path of Raghunuga Bhajan. So again, this phrase, Jaha Siddhi Dehi Pabataha, some Vaishnavas, some of our relatives in our line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, cite these words, Siddhi Dehi Pabataha, as evidence that this is speaking about Siddha Deha, or the process that they have in their line. So we've been speaking extensively something about that, and trying to understand this in terms of our philosophy and what our acharyas say. And we've been speaking about it quite a bit from the Yoga Sutras and from Sridhar Swami's Bhavarta Deepika commentary in the third canto of the Bhagavatam, where he says, Bhagavad Bimba Grahitvam. We're speaking about citta, or consciousness. It's the most subtle element of our antakarana, our internal senses. And the nature of citta is, it's like a bimba. Bimba means a mirror, reflection. Bhagavad bimba grahitvam. Whatever it is that we're grasping, grahitvam, that's our citta. It's reflective. And I want to do a little bit of a review and try to finish our discussion about inattentiveness in our bhajan and the connection with that, according to the Yoga Sutras and according to Thakur Bhaktivinode in Hari-nama-cintamani, in terms of understanding our siddha deha. So we've already looked over the Patanjali Yoga Sutras, and we discussed some of the commentary by Vyas. We're not sure which Vyas that is, and how he speaks about 5 different levels of consciousness: Shipta, Muda, Vikshipta, Ekagra, and Niruddha. Niruddha means it's totally controlled. And in the second of the Yoga Sutras, yoga is defined in terms of our citta, in terms of our consciousness. We're just doing a little bit of a review. Yoga's chitta vritti nirodha. So this nirodha means when we're able to control our citta, our chitta vritti, our inclinations of our consciousness, or the fluctuation of state. Vritti has a number of different meanings. Yogas chitta vritti nirodha. And if we do that, then the next verse in the Yoga Sutras says, then we'll understand our Siddha Swarup, our Siddha Deha. Tada drastu surupe vastanam. So at that time, we understand what is our Siddha Deha. This is our yoga philosophy. But the problem is, as we discussed in our previous session, inattentiveness. And a little later, Patanjali explains this in text 30 and 31. Vyadhisthanya samsaya pramada. He lists 9 different types of inattention. And we spoke a little bit about this. I'm just putting it in front of you here. We can just go over it again real quick. These are 9 different things which take away our consciousness from focus on the holy name. Vyadi, sickness; sthana, mental laziness; samsaya, some doubt. Is this the right thing? Am I doing the best thing? Maybe I should be doing something else. Maybe I should be chanting the Shinga Kavacha, or I should be doing Ekadas Bhav, or this or that. Pramada means negligence, or a lack of enthusiasm, according to commentaries. Alasya means laziness or sloth, apathy in what we're doing. Avirati, the commentator describes craving for sense pleasure. Avirati literally means something which is uninterrupted or incessant. It's always going on. So avirati here refers to, we're trying to do our bhajan, we're trying to do our meditation, but there's this continuous craving for sense pleasure. Bhranti darshana means that we have some, darshan means to see, bhranti means some false perception. Alabdha literally means to something which is unobtained, or disappointment in obtaining one's desired object. And the commentaries explain that it means in despair caused by a failure to concentrate. And the final one is anavastita chitta vikshepa, or literally here, anavastitattvani chitta vikshepaha, unsteadiness and concentration. So this is what the Yoga Sutras describe, and no one can argue about this. This is Shastra. This is what the Yoga Sutras describe as our process and what the problem is. Now, as we discussed previously about this nirodha, or this 5th state of consciousness, when the chitta, when the consciousness is completely fixed, that's also defined in Hari-bhakti-vilas. Mano madhyestito mantro. When the mind is situated in the mantra, mantra madhyestitam manaha, then the mantra becomes situated in the mind. Mano mantram samayuktam. Then the mantra and the mind become one. Etadi japa lakshanam. This is the characteristic of japa. Some people incorrectly, as we discussed in some of our previous sessions, according to the concept of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati and Bhaktivinode had Siddha-pranali. Some people have the conception that we should do some mechanical kind of meditation while we're chanting our japa. But Brihad Bhagavatamrita Sanatana Goswami rejects that. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta and Bhaktivinode and a number of places reject that. And moreover, we don't know, is that meditation that we're doing, and we discussed this quite a bit before. Sometimes people think that they had a dream or they were chanting and they saw something. And how do we know that was real and not some kolpanam? Kolpanam means some imagination. So we want to now turn to Hari-nama-cintamani. I'm just going to go over some of what we went previously, and I want to finish with this chapter 12, which is on inattentiveness. We're going to go through from text 6 up to the end of the chapter, which is text 42. And we'll kind of go a little quickly. I'm going to put it on the board here so you can all see this. I didn't have a time to go through the Bengali and type in the transliteration for all of the subtitles, but we've got all the Bengali other than that. There's quite a bit in the subtitles though too. So he defines inattentiveness in terms he says that it means pramada. Pramada means inattention. And he says from that, iho hoite gati prabhu shakala anartha. All different anarthas come. Pramana anavadana. Pramada means to be neglectful about something or means a kind of madness. And anavadana means to be inattentive. So, tina prakara anavadana. The Bhaktivinode says there's teen prakara, there's three types of this anavadana, this inattentiveness. Odasinya, jajya, and vikshepa, using a Bengali pronunciation. Odasinya, again, means some inattentiveness, apathy, disregard. Jajya means some inertia, some laziness, which is also described in the Yoga Sutras, and vikshepa means some distraction. And in our previous section, we spoke something about the characteristics. Bhaktivinode goes on then from the 22nd verse, speaking about jadya and how that jadya is lasa, which is the term used in the Yoga Sutras. It refers to laziness of mind. Tahi ruchi nahi hoy sri nama grahani, that we can't get a hold of the holy name. We can't grasp the holy name. We don't have any ruchi for chanting. My Guru Maharaj spoke about this many times. He said that it's just a burden. So you're chanting and you just want to try to finish as quickly as you can. So this is Bhaktivinode's point. Smriti Kali Puna, Shigra Virami Prayas. Shigra means very quickly. That at the time of chanting, we quickly give up even trying. Shigra Puna Shigra Vira Prayas. It's too difficult. And because we don't put any effort into it, a doshi, this fault, this dosha, nama rasa nahoy prakash. Nama rasa nahoy prakash. The rasa of the holy name doesn't manifest to us. Anya karye britta kala nahoy japana sadhugana iha chinti smare anukshana. So this is the nature of saintly devotees, avyakta kalatvam, which is one of the symptoms of Bob described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that a devotee doesn't waste any time. They use every moment they have in hearing and chanting. And they're always meditating on the holy name. And in so many places, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and our acharyas have recommended that kirtaniya sadahari, that we should be chanting constantly. So when we have this type of inattentiveness, this jajya, if we look out for association with saintly devotees and we stay in their company, then we get some inspiration from that. Tad anukarna citta jajya parihari. That comes to our chitta, comes to our consciousness. So we're speaking about, because the chitta is like a bimba. Chitta is like a mirror. So when we're chanting in association with devotees, then jajya parihari, we're able to give up that laziness. And Bhaktivinode says it's very difficult to find such a saintly person. One may have to travel far and wide to do that. Abhyata kalatva dharma sadhara charita. So again, this is the nature of a sadhu. They don't want to give up. They don't want to waste even a moment's time. So when we're in association with such devotees, dekile, and we see what's going on with them, tahati ruchi habi nishchita, we get some ruchi ourselves. Rupa Goswami and Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu describes this ruchi and this ruchi abhas. That ruchi abhas is like a reflection, the bimba, when we sit down and we chant with some devotees who have this nature of yata kalatvam. They're constantly using their time in this way. Acha. Sorry to see your problem, Dorothy. I was wondering what was happening with your connection. And And so when we hear about that, mane habe aha kabe ihara saman, then we have this desire, when can I meet such a person? And smari be gai be nama hoya bhagavan. When am I going to become bhagavan, very fortunate, so that I can remember and chant like such a person does? So as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said in one lecture, he said that if there's no sadhu, there's no name, in a very blunt way. Bhakti Rupa Prabhu, he discouraged me from printing that some years ago because he said some people will become disturbed and misunderstand that unless there's some explanation of it. But there's no sadhu, there's no name. But that's what Bhaktivedanta Saraswati says, and we sometimes quote that. Uh, you may have the name, but if you have the name, but there's no sadhu, you don't really have the name. And therefore, Jagadananda Pandit in Prema-bhakti-candrika, he says that sadhu sangha Krishna nam, chai. This is all that I desire, chai, sadhu sangha and Krishna nam, because these two things go together. Because for ourselves, with this mamata, with this mundane attitude that we have toward our identity in this material body and our attachment to material things, unless we see someone who has those kind of qualities, then there's not going to be any hope for us. So we want to search them out. And Bhaktivinode says that's not an easy thing. And he was writing this 100 years ago. It wasn't easy then. I think it's more difficult now. And oftentimes devotees, just to touch on a subject which is a little connected perhaps, oftentimes devotees, they say, oh, that they express so much disappointment and discouragement. Oh, there's no sadhus present. The society is a failure. Directly or indirectly, they say that. But the fact is that it's very, very rare. It's a very difficult thing to find such pure devotees. We may find devotees who are chanting in that, and we want to associate with them. That's very helpful for us. But we shouldn't be surprised, as Srila Prabhupada said, at who leaves. Rather, we should be surprised at who stays. So we should hear about such devotees. This is part of our process, hearing about such great devotees and wondering, when am I going to become fortunate enough to be able to chant and remember like that? I was just reading recently a beautiful article about Jamuna, Prabhupada's Jamuna, who I only had a little association with. Maybe I talked to her a few hours or something. But it really, really deeply impacted me. And I consider her to be one of the great saints in our tradition. And I was reading something recently about her service and her bhajan, and it's so inspiring to hear about devotees like that. So when we hear about such persons, it gives us some enthusiasm. Say te utsaha, say Allah Saramani. We get some utsaha. Rupa Goswami says, utsaha nishchaya dharyat. We should be enthusiastic. But how do we get that enthusiasm? We get that enthusiasm by associating with devotees, by proper association. And even if someone sees an advanced devotee, if we don't go and chant with that devotee, if we don't want to hear from that devotee, if we just want to do some management or business, try to sell something or get something from that devotee, that's not real association. Rather, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary in the Bhagavatam, says that we should be anubhav of such sadhus. We have to be following in their mood. We associate with them intimately, render service to them so that we can understand their mood. And seeing their mood, which is what? That they're constantly smariba, gayiba, nama, that they're constantly chanting and remembering, then we develop some desire for that ourselves. We get some enthusiasm for that. We get some strength for that. Without that kind of association, we become weak. And this alasa, this laziness, permeates us. So this is a way to overcome that alasa, that jajja, and jajja dura kore Krishna namara smarana, and to inspire us to give up that jajja and remember Krishna's name so we can do kirtana yasa dahari. Mani Habe Ajar Lakshanama Jay Koriba. So then at that time, we develop a firm resolution that I'm going to chant like this. I'm going to constantly chant Krami Krami Tina Lakshanama Te Smariba. I'm going to chant a lack of names. It won't be long until I chant 3 lakhs every day. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, famously, according to some of the different disciples of his that I spoke to, I had the good fortune of associating something with 6 or 7 different disciples of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And his concept, he famously said you should chant 1 lakh a day, but his conception generally for chanting 1 lakh a day was that you should just be constantly chanting while whatever service you're doing. Mahagraha habe chitte namera sankhya. And then from this resolution gained by association with devotees, then we'll have our citta, our consciousness will become fixed. And we'll have some strength by the mercy of the Vaishnavas, the kripa of them. Achere jaibe jadya sadhu, we'll be able to overcome our jadya. And then Bhaktivinode Thakur, in text 32, he begins to speak about vikshepa, which one translator gives it as scattered mindedness or overcoming scattered mindedness. And Bhaktivinode says that bahu yatni, that we have to work hard to do this scattered mindedness. And what is the source of it? Kanaka kamini are jaya para jaya. We have some desire for wealth, for money, kamini, for the opposite sex. Jaya para jaya. And look on Facebook and you can find this. Someone wants to have some victory. They want to defeat someone else. Pratistasa, they have this asha, this desire for pratista, to have some big position. Satya briti, they want to get some wealth or something. Tahara nilaya. So when we have these other motivations, which is not a surprise, which we can expect to find within most people in our society, and we can also expect to find in ourselves. It's not, we shouldn't be discouraged by it. We've been in this material world for billions and trillions of births. These are our motivations. And many people, when they come to Krishna consciousness, perhaps not so many come for kanaka kamini, wealth or sex life, maybe some. Some come for jai para jai. You see that they want to debate and they say, let's have a public debate about this, with their idea that this debate somehow is going to solve things. But the Mahabharata says tarka apratishta, that tarka or argument is apratishta. It doesn't really solve anything. Generally, people, they come because they want this pratistasa. They want to have some position. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, you should have that. You are so intelligent. You're so great. You should be in charge of things. And Prabhupada gave them that opportunity. Why did he do that? We become upset. Why should we become upset? We become upset because that's all that we see as the mission, as the Krishna consciousness movement. We're Bahir-mukh janas, we're external persons, so we become upset because all that we see is management and positions, and we become upset because somebody else only wants management and position. But that's all that we see. We're not saragrahi. We're not the Vaishnavas who are seeing the essence of things, which is the holy name, that the holy name is everything. And Srila Prabhupada's purpose was not to create ISKCON. Srila Prabhupada's purpose was to create a society of Krishna consciousness, not just to make an institution. And previously he made another one in India. He called it the League of the Devotees. The name is not so important. As we oftentimes say, the institution, the management side of things, is like a box which contains the gift of bhakti. And if we only pay attention to the box, then we're misunderstanding. But the gift is so powerful that even if you do focus on the box, then you're getting some benefit also, because the box is containing the gift, as long as you have some conception about the gift. And as one sadhu years ago in Vrindavan who attended, his father was a Bhagavat pracharak, a speaker in the Bhagavatam, famous person actually. And he sent his boy to our ISKCON Vrindavan Gurukula. And amazing devotee, very big Sanskrit scholar, now his son. And somehow he likes me something. And we were speaking one day, and he was speaking about the institution, and he said that the purpose of the society is to float the boat of our bhajan. He said, if you stay in the temple, you have to chant 16 rounds. So it's floating the boat of your bhajan. You have to read the Bhagavatam. You have to attend class. You have to follow 4 principles. Otherwise, you can't stay in the society, in the temple. He says, so that's very good. It hit the water of that forced processes holds up the boat of our bhajan. He says, but if we start taking the water and start pouring it into our boat, in other words, we start mixing the institution with the bhajan, then our bhajan sinks. So that pratishta in bhakti is something like a gift box, which carries bhakti. And as long as we understand that bhakti is inside the box, then even someone just spends all their time polishing the box, glorifying the box, and they don't really open it up at all. But at least if they have some idea, vaguely even, what's inside the box, that gift that which is inside that bhakti is so powerful, just like some radioactive material which is inside of a box. You touch the box, you're not touching your radioactive material, but you're touching the box. You also get some benefit because the box is connected to that radioactive material. So the box of the institution is also connected with bhakti, and there's some benefit for that. So this is for a certain class of people. As we were speaking in another one of our sessions, in the 8th chapter, I think it's text 21 of the first canto of the Bhagavatam, Srila Prabhupada says some unusual things about the mission, about the society and temples. He says temples are for less intelligent persons. And the purpose of temples is to help people to understand God and how to worship the Lord. So that's our purpose of our society. And he says, but persons who are already doing service, they're already situated in that platform. And we'll speak something more, I think, in our next session about that in connection with Siddha-pranali. So, e sabha akristi hridi hoy le udoy name te anavadana swabhavi te hoy. When these kind of thoughts that, oh, I have to have money, and again in his Lagu Vaishnav Toshani, Jiva Goswami's commentary on the Bhagavatam in the 10th canto in one verse, he says that why is it that some people don't stay for Krishna Katha? And Jiva Goswami pointedly says it's because they're thinking, oh, I have to go make money. I can't stay for class. I don't have time to come to the session today because I have to go to work. I have to make money. So kanaka kamani, or this kamani is there. Kamaistaista hrita gyanaha. Krishna says in the Gita, this lust takes away our good intelligence. And then we can't understand what sadhu and guru is speaking. When we have this attraction for jai and parajai, for debate and arguing with people and having victory, defeating some person on Sankirtan or something, or pratisha satyabriti, some desire for position and prestige or some wealth. All of these things, when these kind of thoughts come to the mind, then we are chanting Namete Anavadana Swabhav. This Anavadana Swabhav arises in connection with the holy name. Namete in the grammar refers to the holy name. And one becomes inattentive, Anavadana, to the holy name. So how to overcome that? Krame, little by little, day by day, say Sabha Chinta Parihari. One by one, say Sabha Chinta, all these different chintas, these things which are coming to our mind, Parihari, say Sabha, all of them, we have to abandon them. Jati be Sabhagyavan Vaishnava Achari. And we have to make a concerted effort so that we can become so Bhagyavan, we can have good fortune, and we can develop Vaishnava Achar. And therefore, Srila Prabhupada gave the temples, gave the society, because we don't have sadhus generally just walking around in the streets in Europe and America and places. Some places in India you might find them, but it's also very difficult to tell who's really a genuine sadhu. So Srila Prabhupada, seeing that there was no culture like in India, families, I have a friend in Puri, in Orissa, who, as a young boy, he told me that when he would go to school and he'd come home, even if they went out of the house for a few hours, what to speak of going to school, when they came home, they had to take a bath. They had a pump well outside the house, and they put on a gumshoe and they take a bath. Before you come inside the house, you have to take a bath. That's Vaishnava chart. So we don't have any conception of that in the West. So to help us with that, Srila Prabhupada created this society. So one by one, we have to give up these thoughts. Pratam ete. So how do we start that? On Hari Dini, on Hari Vasara, on the days of Lord Hari, the days of Krishna, Boga Chinta Chaji. We give up thinking about sense gratification. And that's the purpose for Ekadashi. It's not that the purpose is to fast, we're going to get some benefit, we're going to get some purity, we're going to, by fasting from grains or by fasting from completely, we're going to get some austerity, some wealth of us. That's not the purpose of Gaudiya Vaishnavas. But we practice that so that Boga Chinta Chaji, we can give up that desires of sense gratification. And seeing how attached we are, perhaps Srila Prabhupada himself, he would say, yes, it's Ekadasi, so today we'll have some paneer and some fruits and some peanuts, and he would take carrot halava and things on Ekadasi, which generally a lot of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas don't take carrot halava. But Srila Prabhupada would do that because he saw the Westerners, I feel he saw the Westerners are so attached to sense gratification. They need something. But still, that's cutting back. That's the purpose. And we should chaji, we should give some of that boga chinta up, that consciousness of sense gratification. And sadhu sange ratri dine Hari-nama-bhaji. We should spend all of our time day and night on Ekadasi, if we can, in association with devotees chanting the holy name. And Hari Chaitri, we should go to Jagannath Puri, we should go to Mayapur, Vrindavan, to the place of Krishna. Haridasa, Hari Shastri Loi, and there we should associate with Krishna's servants, and we should hear Shastras in connection with Krishna. Utsave Majibe Suke Paramadibai. And we should absorb ourselves in a festival of the holy name with great bliss. And Bhaktivinode comments on this about how it means these different places and pure devotees in the line of Rupa Goswami. Krami Bhakti Kale Mana Kori Bevardhana. So gradually, Kori Bevardhana, Krame, as we go along, we'll spend more and more time absorbing our mind in this Bhakti Kali, in activities or time, literally, of devotion. Harikata Mahotsave, and then we'll have a festival of Harikata, Majjayi Mana, and our mind will become gradually controlled. Shrestha Rasa Krame Chitte. And then our chitta, this Shrestha Rasa, this superior taste of Krishna consciousness, Krame Chitta will gradually come to our consciousness, Hoi Be Udoy. It'll begin to arise. The word Udoy is a very beautiful word. It also refers to the rising of the sun. So just like the sun rises, and there's a philosophical conception of that, when the sun rises, the darkness goes away. So when the sunshine rises of the Shrestha Rasa, then our Chitta Hoibe Udoy, then the sun begins to come to our consciousness. Jadira Niskrita Rasa Charibe Nischoy. And then we'll give up the inferior, the Jadya. Jadya means dull, we were saying before, but Jadya also means anything material or something which is just dead. Like a table is Jadya, it has no consciousness. And we'll give up that Jadya Rasa. Mahajana Mukhe Hari Sangita Shravane. When we hear the songs, of the Mahajans. And this is something we've often spoke about. I like commenting on this. I think it's a really important principle that we should spend more time singing songs of the Mahajans, of Bhaktivinode Thakur and Narottam Das Thakur and others. That's what Srila Prabhupada was doing. And if you go to any Gaudiya Vaishnava temple outside of ISKCON, that's what they're constantly doing. Whether it's Gaudiya Mat or with the Babajis or Tota Gopinath or Gambhira, they're Siddha Bakul, they're singing so many different bhajans, and they chant Hare Krishna, at least in some of the places. Some of them have a little different tradition, but they chant Hare Krishna. But this Mahajana Kirtan is so important that in association with the devotees, we should be hearing that. Mugdha habe mana karna rasa asvadani. When that sound enters into our karna, our ears, and comes to our mind, and our mind becomes mugdha, becomes bewildered. It becomes overwhelmed. Here it says enchanted. Asvadane, and we begin to taste this, get the taste of the holy name. The Krishna Vishaya Spriha Haribe Vikata. And then this Krishna Vishai, these tastes for this low-class Vishai, Haribe Vigata, we can overcome that. And Namagani Chitta Stira will become Chitta Stira, our consciousness, our Chitta will become Stira, fixed in singing and chanting the holy name of the Lord. And then he says, Ata eva bahu yatne e pramada tyaji. So we have to give up, we have to bahu yatne, we have to make a great endeavor to give up this inattentiveness and absorb ourselves in the nectar of the holy name. If we do that, then we come back to this previous verse, and the mind and the mantra can become one. And Jayamchandra Goswami in his Gaur Govinda Smaranarchana Padati, text 64, gives this verse, which is also quoted in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Mano madhyestito mantra madhyestitam manaha mano mantra samayutam etadi japa lakshanam. This is a characteristic of japa, that our mind and the mantra become one. And this is the beginning of Siddha-pranali. And this is according to the Yoga Sutras. When we come to that point of niruddha, that fifth stage of consciousness according to the Yoga Sutras, then our mind becomes one with the mantra. That's real yoga. We become complete yogas chitta vritti nirodha. When we come to that point of nirodha, complete control over our chitta vritti, our inclinations and our chitta, then tada drastu surupi vastanam. We understand what is our swarup, our siddha deha. So this is the purport I'm suggesting of this song of Narottam Das Thakur, a purport which we find in Shastra. As one Vaishnava, scholar I was coming in contact recently, was commenting how he's in the line of Siddha-pranali, interestingly too. He's saying that whether they're ISKCON or Gaudiya Mat devotees, or whether they're Babajis, most Vaishnavas today don't really understand so much about our tradition. We should we should look in Shastra, we should look and see what our acharyas give. And the process is the chanting of the holy name. But we should become fixed in that chanting. And that mantra, when we're chanting the mantra, it should become one in our mind. Because sadhana bhavi bejaha siddhadehi pabastataha, that whatever we're contemplating, whatever's coming to our chitta, our consciousness, at the time of our sadhana, siddhadehi pabataha, that will obtain in our siddhadeha, in our perfected being, perfected state. So I'm going to go ahead and stop there. It's a lot of philosophy and stuff, and just mostly some reading today. I don't know if anybody has any reflections or comments or anything, but please do if anybody has any questions or comments or anything. This is time now. Looking here, it's 8:30 at night in India. Gorni Thai Prabhu, do you want to share something? And then Dorothea.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Nice to
Yes,
see you
thank
again,
very
Prabhuji.
much. Thank you. I would like to hear something about the emotions. You mentioned so many thoughts, so many difficulties, so many.
Yeah, I purposely haven't been speaking so much about emotions because there's a problem with emotions, a very big problem. The problem is with kalpana. As long as our consciousness has these problems that we're hearing about, then we have some emotion, and people say, I'm in love. But it's not love, it's just lust. And because of this kalpanam, they can't distinguish what's what. So therefore, the Yoga Sutras and our acharyas recommend that we practice Vaidhi Bhakti first, before rag comes, before genuine emotions come. And in that path, and I want to speak something more about this in our next session, more specifically about rag, there is some hope for us with this. Our process is mixed, just like the other day, I think it was Leela Purushottam Prabhu was sharing something from one of Srila Shiva Ramaj's introductions to one of his books. We were speaking about how in our line, we practice a combination in the beginning of Raganuga Bhakti and Vaidhi Bhakti. So I mentioned Raganuga Bhakti here, which may seem like it's not answering your question, but it is, because Rag means emotion. Rag means some genuine attraction. So as Maharaj was saying, we have some mixture of that in the beginning. How do we have a mixture of that? That's an extremely important thing in our discussion about Siddha-pranali. That comes when we render service. Shushu Shosha Didanasha Vasudeva Kata Ruchi. We get that Kata Ruchi when we render some service to those personalities. Then some emotions begin to come. We don't have emotions toward Krishna in the beginning. We might have some, at best, some bhava bhas or some reflection of some emotion, but we can have emotions for the Vaishnavas. We can have some kind of love and attachment for the Vaishnavas. And that love and attachment for the Vaishnavas might not be the purest attachment. It still might be based on ahamta and mamata, or some false identification and some sense of possessiveness that we spoke about in previous session. It's not pure, and in that sense, it's a kind of kalpana also. But if it's in connection with Krishna, just like the example we gave of the box holding something radioactive, because it's connected with it. When we're associating with devotees, they may be neophyte devotees, and we may be neophyte. But if we're going and we're following this program that Srila Prabhupada gave us, and we're going to the morning program, we're chanting, we're hearing Bhagavatam, we're doing service and things, then in that association, it's natural, we'll have some feelings. We'll develop emotions for other devotees, because in this early stage, we have this aham mama bhava, ahamta and mamata. We have this self-identification and this possessiveness. So we think of that as love. A young girl, this is one reason why girls, they want to dress themselves in a very sexy, beautiful way, because it's very, very intoxicating when a boy just completely focuses on you or what you identify as yourself, and wants to give you sweets and wants to give you whatever you want and satisfy you and give you all kinds of physical pleasures and things, because you're identifying that ahamta and mamata with this, my body. That becomes very, very intoxicating. And we think of that as love. And those are our mundane emotions. In our interim stage, we're beginning to purify that. We still have, as we were discussing in a previous session, we still have this ahamta and mamata, that there's this conception, I am this material body, and all these things, my wife, my children, the institution, the devotees in my temple, my god brothers, they're all part of me. We have this possessiveness, and it's not completely spiritualized yet. But because there's some connection with Krishna consciousness, then it's still better. And that's why Srila Prabhupada encouraged devotees to get married, not just so that they don't leave, but there's some ahamta and mamata in connection with Krishna. That's why Srila Prabhupada created an institution. This is a comment from my Guru Maharaj. Basically, that Prabhupada created this society so that people could identify as being a member of something. And then we have some friendship because we need these emotions. But in the beginning stages, they're not real emotions. It's just gradually coming. But we have some feeling for Gurudev. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati says that as we go along and we become more purified and we get more ruchi, we get more taste by our activities of service and by our activities of chanting the holy name, because those things are in connection with Gurudev. Gurudev has given us the holy name. Gurudev, we're doing a service for Gurudev. Then we naturally, when we have that ruchi, that taste, then we begin to develop feelings for Gurudev and for the Vaishnavas. Whereas before, in the example I said of a young girl, because she's thinking of herself, I am this body, and therefore anybody who likes my body and says my body is beautiful and wants to serve my body with chocolates and fancy food and material pleasures, then that person, I love them. I feel affection for them because of their identity. So when we speak about emotions, it's very much in connection with our identification and what particular level we're on. Is that helpful, Prabhuji?
That's why I wanted to ask you, because you didn't wait it, what is my request. So you started some kind of negative explanation why you don't speak about the emotions in a higher state of bhakti. But I would like to ask to hear about the different emotions which correspond to the lower state of bhakti. For example, in the Bhagavad Gita 2:29, there is a nice verse. Some see the soul as amazing. Some describe it as amazing. And some hear of the soul as amazing. So here is the feeling of amazement. So I heard that the emotions are the energized factors of every movement of the citta. Means if we have emotions, we do something. We think something, or we do something for getting something. And if you have a goal, the goal creates emotions. So this is a complex topic which you know very well. So I would like to ask you if you can correspond the different lower type of devotion like anatta-nivritti, nishtha, realizing ourselves as a soul. What kind of emotions helps in that? What kind of emotions create that understanding that I am a spirit soul, not a body? And how do you have the focus to chant properly on our level and not go to higher level, which is not helpful?
Feelings are based on these two things, ahamta and mamata, whether they're mundane feelings or whether they're transcendental feelings. And when we go through these different 8 stages, beginning with the dosha, the tata, sadhusanga, tato, all the way up to prema, these two conceptions are also there all along the whole way. But in the initial stages of anishita bhajana kriya, when we don't have taste yet in things, then that ahamta and mamata are very, very strong. And then at a certain point, when we begin to get more ruchi, then they become weaker. And then when we get more and more taste, they start to develop in a different way. Initially, they develop toward the person who, our object of our sadhana, the person who's helping us, giving us our sadhana. And then as we go further, eventually, and we have some realization, we eventually develop mamata for Krishna. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaks about this with Ramananda Roy in Madhya Lila chapter 8, that he says it's not enough just to be free from material desires. You have to have some mamata also. You have to have some conception, this is my Krishna. Krishna belongs to me. So that's the hamta, mamata, the impersonalists, they want to get rid of that. But we say no, that ahamta, mamata, although it's there in material consciousness, it's also there in spiritual consciousness. And depending on the purity of that ahamta, mamata, and the level of it, we'll have corresponding feelings. On a lower level, we hear from a Vaishnava about, and we can say this is amazing. as you were saying. We have that feeling of amazement, but that's in connection with the devotee. When it's not just an intellectual exercise. This is something interesting or something. That amazement, that aishcharya, which is a word that Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur uses, Aishvarika Dambani and other different literatures. It means astonishment. When I have this astonishing feeling, which comes from being with a sadhu. I remember hearing Bhagavatam classes from my Guru Maharaj and being astonished. Just like my mind was blown, to use a Western expression. And it's exactly what Bhaktivinode is speaking about in Hari-nama-cintamani, that mugdha chitta, that mugdha mana, that the mind becomes mugdha. It becomes completely astonished and bewildered. My God, I didn't, and it's not just some information. It's not just that a professor in the university can come and say, here's a list of everything in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu and this and this. That doesn't cause that astonishment. But when we see that it's something realized, when we see in connection with feelings of that sadhu, then we begin, that's an initial thing. We develop some astonishment. Bhaktivinode says that's one of the first things that we develop. And then as we go along, our literature is all about the feelings, and we want to understand what are the feelings. I touched on Jamuna. What are the feelings of Jamuna for Srila Prabhupada? What are the feelings of Jamuna for her service? It's astonishing when you hear about that. I want to hear, I find that very encouraging, because she grew up, not very far away from where I was living before I joined. And before I joined, what she was doing before she joined was pretty much what I was doing before I joined, same kind of thing. So I can relate to her. It's not just some Mahabhagavat Vaishnava that I read about in Chaitanya Charitamrita, but this is somebody real. So when I hear about a Vaishnava like that, or I hear from Chaitanya Charitamrita about some different devotees of the Lord, Pradyumna Mishra or Ramananda Roy or this one or that one, then I get some appreciation of their bhajan, and I hear about their feelings, and that becomes very, very attractive for me. But it's still, because my mamata, my hamta and mamata are conditioned, and I'm thinking I'm identifying with the body, then it's still theoretical, and there's a problem with kalpana. There's a problem that it may just be some speculation what I'm doing. And therefore, Prabhupada sometimes told devotees, famously, one person said, Swamiji, when I chant Hare Krishna, I see this red light. And Prabhupada said, very good. Just keep chanting and it'll go away after some time. Sometimes we have, one devotee came to my Guru Maharaj, said almost the same thing. He said, Guru Maharaj, so when I chant, I saw Lord Nrsingadev. And Guru Maharaj looked both ways. He said, very good. Don't tell anyone. He didn't encourage it exactly, because his kalpana is there. We don't know what's what. And if we read in Hari Bhakti Vilas and different Gaudiya literatures, in the beginning, it's encouraged if we have some kind of amazing vision or something. Sometimes that happens, but maybe it's just because I had too much pizza at night, or I have an overactive imagination, and maybe it's kalpanam. Then I should confirm that with Guru, and I shouldn't tell anybody else about it. Why should I not tell anybody else about it? Well, one reason is that maybe it'll encourage people to speculate. That's one. And two, maybe if it is something genuine, and I tell people about it, then I lose the strength of it. Just like if you put a pot of water on a flame and you put a lid on it, it creates pressure. Whereas if you take the lid off, it creates a big show of steam in the room, but there's no strength. So in the same way, we can advertise our realizations, we can advertise our bhajan, our whatever small or big realizations we've gotten, and we just give those away. So those are feelings, but when those feelings we should keep on a pot, like a lid on the pot, and that becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. And in our sadhik stage, that ahamta mamata, we turn toward Gurudev. We turn toward the society. We turn toward our service that we have. That's not my siddha deha to take care of the cows in New Brajadam. It's not my siddha deha to go out and do book distribution in the streets of Budapest or something. That's not my siddha deha necessarily, but that's something which my ahamta mamata can relate to right now. I am a Sankirtan devotee. I am one of the cowherd devotees. I am this thing. I am an ISKCON devotee. I am a disciple of Guru Maharaj. So that's helpful for us at this stage. Is that helpful, Gwanitai Prabhu?
Yeah, that is the point, that every action, every service needs some Bhava Seva. Not just Sankalpa, not just Ekagra, but Bhava Seva. But the proper Bhava Seva would really keep that service going on nicely. Like you mentioned, tending the cows. If you go first time, it's very nice, very interesting, but second time, third time, and then in winter time, -10, and you're still there, not because you are just, you have to love them, you have to appreciate them, have to have a gratitude that, yes, you are here, my these cows, I take care of you. So the same thing when you chant, you have to find some kind of proper feelings by which you can maintain that chanting at least 2-3 hours.
To give away a little bit of our next session, we want to look at a commentary from the Bhagavatam of Jiva Goswami, where he speaks about chanting, and he says that service is even more important than chanting. And he explains how a disciple may, for service, may not be so fixed in meditating on the holy name, because he's thinking, what am I going to cook for Gurudev? Or how am I going to take care of the cows? That's not necessarily the highest thing. We want to be completely absorbed in the holy name, but it's not necessarily bad. And anyway, Jiva Goswami speaks about that because we're developing feelings for a person. Yeah. Everything is personal. How can I can say, I want to love Krishna. I want to have these feelings, but it's just kalpana. It's just imagination.
Yeah, that's.
But when there's a cow there, and you take care of that cow, and you know that you've known that cow since it was a small calf, and you love them, you know. In New Mayapur, when we were going, they were having I always go visit the cows when we go places, and the person taking care of the cows there told me that none of the devotees were coming and helping. It's an old story. You've seen it too, I think, in New Brajadam. There's 2 or 3 or 4 devotees who do all the hard work. There it was 1 or 2 devotees. And he protested. He told the devotees, look, this is not good. You all say nice things about the cows. You should come and spend some time with them. So he got brushes. And the devotees came and they started brushing the cows. And there was one old cow. I tell this story sometimes. You may have heard me say before. One very old cow. She'd never given birth before. And she was like way, way past her time. Maybe she's going to leave her body in another couple of years or something. And she became so ecstatic by the attention of the devotees and the loving brushing and things. She started giving milk. And that milk that they were offering to the deities, that's love.
So if you use properly or heart for chanting, then Krishna will give milk, give some taste.
Even
That's
though my heart's
point.
really dry, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So that's I would like to hear, that how you develop these feelings, real feelings.
That's something I want to speak on next session. That's a personal thing. It has to come from a person. It's not just that I'm going to sit down and imagine I'm chanting Hare Krishna and I'm thinking of Krishna, but it's just all speculation. But when I'm doing that as service to Gurudev, Tate Krishna Bhaji Kori Guru Sevan. My Krishna Bhajan is my Guru Seva.
Yeah, that's I heard also, that is the fix. That's the Nishta feeling, that I have really great gratitude for Gurudev who gave this opportunity to devotees to help me. That gratitude can fix your mind and fill up with energy to chant or rounds.
Yeah, therefore Raghunath Das Goswami famously in Mukta Charit begins his prayer, Nama Shrestha Manamapi Satchi Puta Matra Swarup. He just gives a list of what Gurudev has given me. Yeah. The holy name, connection with Rupa Goswami, and so many things. And that's gratitude. Thank you,
that's
Gauni Thakur. Are you still in Mayapur?
yeah.
Yeah, you're in
Yeah,
a different
until
room than you were
October,
before.
September, like this.
Oh, I thought you were going to be coming somehow with Shiva Ram Maharaj. We're going
I
to get to
try
see
to
you.
convince him, but not easy.
Oh, he told you to stay there. Well, that's not so bad. Guru tells you to stay in the holy dham.
Yeah. But maybe in Rajasthan.
All right. Maybe we'll see you at Radhastami. It looks like Jai Gaur is going to come
Give
to
your-
New Brajadam for Radhastami
Yeah.
also.
That would be nice.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you.
Leela Purushottam, you should come for Radhastami too. And you get a chance to meet Jai Gaur.
I'm just listening some extremely tempting news.
But if you want to do that, just like I was telling Jai Gaur, you need to make arrangements immediately. You can send me a private message, okay? If you're interested in doing it, I'll connect you with somebody because, as you know, it's complicated there. They have their fees and stuff, and to try to find a place to stay and everything. It's
Well, in that sense, maybe we would go even for the Radha resort. But even that will be full probably. Let's see. But I will contact you.
Okay. Maybe you have a comment in a minute. But Dorothea had her hand up earlier. Dorothea, do you want to add anything? You have any comments, reflections? Welcome to our
I got maybe
again.
30. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm very grateful for it. And I got maybe 30% of the whole session because I was getting thrown out all the time.
Oh, Krishna.
I hope next time I have better internet connection. So, but what I heard was just pure nectar, and I'm a little bit afraid to ask some questions because they would be out of context because they were just based on some snippets. So, but yeah, I will re-listen to the session and then maybe I will drop some private question to you, and then
that's great.
I hope that's okay.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
So thank you for taking part. You got to meet all these wonderful devotees and Sangha too. Really very sweet. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Anybody else with any reflections, comments, questions, protests? You upset, angry with me about something?
Maybe I just want to
angry
express,
with me?
just want to express once more the gratitude that for the, I can't call it otherwise than wake up call actually, because my chanting is in such a ruin that hearing these tattvas, these truths about what's the cause of distraction and what are the different kinds of distractions, it's feeding my structural way of mind. So I'm gaining step by step, drop by drop. I'm gaining a strength to bring about some positive revolution about my japa vrata, because
well, it's like Bhaktivinode said in Hari-nama-cintamani, we should hear the songs of the Mahajans, and we should hear, just like we're hearing this today, because this is my disease too. We all have this disease in the material world. It's a very rare thing for someone to really be completely absorbed in the holy name. So let's not cheat ourselves and try to pretend that we're something we're not. Let's take the medicine Bhaktivinode gives.
Yeah, and that's why it's so helpful, and I can only be glad that we can hear from you what the medicine is actually, and where the resources for any humble attempt for reformation we can find and we can hold to. So that's my emotions now. If Gornikai Prabhu was asking about emotions, so that's my emotion after the last and today's kata. That's the emotion. Like at least I have a something to hold to.
we're saying all this to just, just repeat. Prabhupada said that many times. Just repeat what you've heard. My Guru Maharaj told me that. But it's not so easy sometimes, is it? I mean, we go to so many classes and people are saying all kinds of weird stuff, use a polite word. So what is it? And Bhaktivinode says that here in Hari-nama-cintamani very clearly, that when we have these other desires, Kanaka Kamini, Jaya Parajaya, we want Pratistasa, then we can't really understand what's going on. And therefore we all kinds of weird things come up out of our mouth in the Bhagavatam class and things. It's a shame.
And then Bhaktivinoda Thakur did not comment smartphones and internet connection. I would be curious what we would hear if that would be another category of it would squeeze into distraction, or what category would it be? Like,
one of my first service from my Guru Maharaj, ironically, was doing yagyas, which is something which requires second. He gave me first and second at the same time, but before I came to him, I was already doing yagyas. My first service for him was to install someone's deities, and he had me do that. So my godbrother Haladar Maharaj really liked that. So when he took sannyas, he asked me to be the hotri, the priest, for his sannyas ceremony, even though I'm a white knight guy, rotten grihasta. And I don't know, his first like 4 or 5, I really don't like doing yagas. I'm not advertising this. Do not ask me to do yagas. I really don't like doing them. And I could go on for many reasons. But he really, really wanted me to be the hotri, the priest for his first 4 or 5 initiation ceremonies. And so I did that. And he was speaking, primarily his disciples are from Orissa, and he's speaking in Odia language. And my Odia is not so great. I understand a little bit, alpa. And I'm kind of poking around with the fire and doing things while he's speaking, and I'm listening. And then one thing I could tell, every time he speaks about the 4 regulated principles and then he talks about this, the cell phone. And it's one of his principles that, which I thought, okay, I don't think it's going to work in the West, but anyway, it's what he's a guru, it's his choice. But he tells devotees no cell phones. I know, like Prabhupada Priya Sevak, our assistant for many years, who's one of Maharaj's first disciples, he has a smartphone, and Maharaj himself has a smartphone. It's not like nobody has it, but in general, he.
It could be if the guru wants to pronounce it. It would be helpful for me actually if I would be forced to promise no cell phones for chanting. That would be like.
We're working on a project right now in Puri. I don't want to speak very much about it because it's very much just in the conceptual stage, but more than that, there's some money already behind things, and we're thinking to just start like an eco village, the Purushottam eco village. We're thinking to call it there, and one of the financial bases of the community would be as a wellness center, a place where people can come and have a retreat and do Ayurveda and have a spa experience and like that. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, Christian, what were you just speaking about?
I said that if I would be forced to promise no cell phone.
No cell phone. So I was just thinking about that principle of the cell phones, that I'm interested in yatra and doing parikrama with devotees. That's something we do for many, many years now, 20 years or something in Puri. And I've looked at how the Christians do it. And when the Christians do it, they have some things through Italy, parts of Italy and Spain and whatever, and they walk on foot. Generally, they have smaller groups, maybe at the most 20 or 30 people. Generally, they divide the men and the women into different groups. So it's one group, just only men, and they have a rule: no cell phones, no computers, for the whole duration of the yatra. And I thought, wow, that's really cool. If we did that, people would they wouldn't want to come. I think because on our yatras, even in Harinam, once we were doing Harinam with the devotees along the beach in Puri, and we're chanting, and it's really ecstatic. There's like 50 devotees, and all of a sudden, I'm alone, and I'm chanting by myself, and there's no kirtan, and it was weird. What's going on? I turn around, and it was a group of devotees from China. Every single devotee had their cell phone out and was taking pictures of the ocean. Every single one of them. I find it very depressing.
How Indians started to go for darshans in temples in Vrindavan. It's terrible. Like when I finished for the first time, I was so shocked. Like as you have this line for Diti Darshan. When is that? Like this, during the Gaur Arati or after in Krishna Balaram Mandir.
Yeah.
No, it's before actually. It's before Gaur Arati actually.
Yeah, before Bhagavatam class also. Even during the Bhagavatam class, there's huge queue.
And then there is like 9 or 10 people is going with the cell phone camera stretched towards the deity, and their head is not there. Their head is the opposite direction, looking for the Matajis in the kirtan or whatever. But they just they don't look at the deities. They just walk that whole line. They walk with the hand stretched with the cell phone towards the deities, and they don't look at the deities at all in the whole row. As Subal Saka last session, he mentioned that that it's a weapon of mass distraction, maybe not distraction, but distraction. So yeah, I'm repeating myself, but I just want to thank you. And yeah, we had some few WhatsApp calls last days with Gornitai Prabhu, and we were discussing our chanting and encouraging and discussing different angles of understanding. So it's also helpful. So I'm collecting, as I say, I'm collecting drop by drop some strength and determination to be serious about the chanting, and especially this inattentiveness. It's so hard to overcome, because you can always count the beats and then murmur something, but to be willing, be present there and put the attention to the holy name, that's a hard job. That's hard work.
Narayan Maharaj made a comment I saw once that he said, if you chant and you're not being very attentive, then actually it's in Chaitanya Charitamrita too. Bahujama, it's going to be it'll take many births. Yeah. At the same time, so much of the time we think, it says, what is it? Gosh, I can't remember the Bengali. Anyway, whether one's attentive or not attentive, if you chant, you're going to get so much benefit. And it's a fact. And you'll get wealth and you'll get this thing and that thing, but it's going to take you a lot of births before you get Krishna Prem. As far as the phones go,
that we are, I'm sorry, Tutu. That's the thing, that we are like balancing, that we have some attraction to experience the relationship with Krishna and with the divine couple, and because we have so many stimulations for that attractiveness, but we have to understand that it begins with our relationship to the holy name. That's what your classes are all about, these last 8 sessions.
Yeah, our connection with the holy name and our connection to the holy name through Krishna's devotee. Yeah, you can't separate the devotees from the holy name, and that doesn't only mean our guru; it also means the little guys too. It means everybody, but in a proper way. Siddha Hari Prabhu, do you want to share something?
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you for your wonderful katha. I appreciate the sangha. on the point of phone and yatra, I want to share experience. Like I remember, I'm not sure if I shared or not, but last year I did Brajmandal Parikrama, and there I was inspired by Mother Archa Murthy, who is the wife of late His Holiness Gopinandan Prabhu, and she told me that do not bring phone, because she also doesn't bring her phone for the yatra. So I did that for the whole yatra. I didn't have my phone with me, and it was a surreal experience because I had only my chanting bead bag and a small book in my hand. Rest of the time, I was completely just off everything else. I had no email, no phone, nothing, no connection. I mean, I had like a old phone, which was just meant for like messaging somebody if you have to message, like text phone, not even as, because I didn't have any screen. It was a great experience because the type of japa I had that time, I have never had an experience like japa like that before. The type of immersion I had in the dham and the pastimes, never had before. So it was a very, very deep experience for me. And I hope to do this year also with blessings of Vaishnavas. I want to do this again this year during Brajmandal Parikrama. For a month of Kartik, no phone. I'm nobody, for that period. So that's my experience. So thank you for sharing your thoughts too.
Thank you.
I'm excited about the eco project in Purushottam in Jagannath Puri Dham. That's very exciting as you're sharing.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. I don't know how much I'm going to be involved. They want me to be involved to some extent, but I've got too much on my plate already, I think. But I'm going to, I like it. And I'd like to see something happen. And I'll give some of my vision and some talks about it, but I've got too much going on in other ways to really give too much for that. We'll see what happens.
Sure, Prabhu. And Prabhu, a question which I had based on what we spoke today was, I've been reading CC recently, and I was reading the section where Mahaprabhu is traveling Vrindavan, and when he's towards the end of his yatra, he's Ballabhadra Bhattacharya. It's amazing, both Ballabhadra Bhattacharya and previously, who was the other one, his associate, who got turned in by the Bhattaharis? Was it Krishnadas?
Yeah, Kala Krishna Das.
Kala Krishnadas, yeah. And it's interesting that, even Bhattacharya also, although he's staying with Mahaprabhu, he starts speculating. He thinks that there's Krishna has appeared on the Kaliya lake. He gets convinced by the locals, and Mahaprabhu slaps him. And yes, you don't understand really, come on, that in the Kali Yuga, Krishna doesn't come. So I was thinking to the point, a couple of points. One is that, as you're mentioning in the Katha, that one should seek the association of sadhus for really getting taste for chanting. Although all these methods are good, of having no phone and all that, and being assertive about, being really clear about what I really want from my japa experience. But on the other side, I feel also it's important to have association with wonderful sadhus, because just by the association, there's a magic, because when they speak Krishna Katha, it really enlivens you and really brings a different force to chanting. So please correct me on that, in terms of focusing on so many methods and techniques for improving japa versus having association of sadhus. And secondly, when you're having association of sadhus, Bhattacharya was having association of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still, he's missing out. And so I'm also wondering, like, what is really association of sadhu in that regard? Maybe, so, like in your personal case, when you heard about His Holiness Golgana Sai Maharaj, you left LA and you moved to take his association. Is that an example to follow? Like when we hear about sadhus, just move to sadhu association. So, and at the same time, we hear about Ballabhadra Bhattacharya and Kala Krishnadas, how they had association of sadhus of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but still had a fall down. So a lot of questions, a lot of thoughts there. Whatever you can answer now.
Great examples. I really appreciate it. As far as moving physically to wherever Guru is, that's a question of our own. It's a personal question, an individual question. It depends on many things. How often the Guru comes and visits us, or how much we feel connected, or what our personal life is like. I had my personal reasons. I was at a turning point in my life anyway. And I just gave everything up and came to Bhubaneswar to be with Guru Maharaj. I really like these examples of Ballabhadra Bhattacharya and Kala Krishna Das. We can first of all point out that these are associates of Mahaprabhu, and they're not actually in Maya any more than Arjun's in Maya in the Bhagavad Gita, but they're displaying something for us. And so at the first glance, what is the first lesson that we see from that is that even if you're in association with God himself, you may not actually be there. it's a very powerful example. Balabhadra Bhattacharya, he's speculating off his face about Kali is there and this and that. And the same thing, Kala Krishnadas becomes attracted to the Bhattatari girls. But in the case of Kala Krishnadas, we hear about his reformation, although Chaitanya Mahaprabhu externally rejected him, basically, and said he can go wherever he wants, but he shouldn't be around me. The devotees gave mercy to him. He took shelter of the devotees, and it was Advaitacharya and Srivas Thakur and Gadadhar and others who, showing mercy on him, told him that you should go back to Navadvip and see Sachi Mata and take news of her Nimai to him, knowing that what a wonderful service that is. Wow, wouldn't she like to be the one who goes to give news about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to his mother? She's going to bless you like anything, knowing that he's going to get a major blessing from Sachi Mata like that. That was their blessing on him. And Mahaprabhu, in the same way also that he rejected Chota Haridas, and Fakir Mahaprabhu gave extensive classes about that. What was that rejection? Was he wasn't really rejecting him, and the proof is that Chota Haridas was still coming to him regularly, and things later. But Mahaprabhu, he has also an institutional side. We could put it that way. He has a religious side, where he has to show a certain face, and otherwise people are going to just do any damn thing. But there's mercy there, just like Srila Prabhupada once, who was in Kolkata, and there was a phone call for Prabhupada, and it must have been on a speakerphone or something, I don't know exactly how, but Tamal Krishna Maharaj tells this story. Prabhupada took the call, and the devotee was a disciple who called, and he said, Prabhupada, I can't follow the principles, I'm smoking ganja and this and that. And Prabhupada was really heavy with him. And Prabhupada told him that if you don't follow, I'm going to reject you. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj was listening somehow to all of this, and he was shocked because he'd been around Srila Prabhupada for so long, but he'd never ever heard Prabhupada say such a thing, that I'm going to reject you to somebody. So after the phone call was finished, Tamal Krishna Maharaj asked Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, how can you reject him? And Prabhupada's response was, he said that we are in the line of Nityananda Prabhu. We cannot reject anyone. But I have to say this, otherwise, and that it doesn't mean that also we can say, well, it's just a show that Prabhupada's doing, it doesn't really mean anything. I wouldn't agree with that either. He may send someone away. He may chastise someone. My Guru Maharaj rejected a couple of disciples. He had devotees cut off his sikha and his Brahman thread and kick him out. In retrospect, that's a long discussion, but I don't necessarily think that Guru Maharaj really rejected him, but he had to make a show of that. But in his heart of hearts, he's still there. But it's a great test for that devotee. Now, what are you going to do? Just like a woman, she wears colorful saris and she wears a bindi to show that she's married. When her husband dies, or when her husband, in Vedic culture, when her husband dies, when he takes sannyas, meaning the same thing, sannyas is like death in Vedic culture, then what does she do? She gives up wearing the colorful sari, she gives up wearing the bindi, and she wears white. And what does that white mean? That white means this is my connection with my husband. She doesn't have a connection. He's gone. But this is a symbol of my connection. That was example Fakir Mahaprabhu used with us about the Guru in that way. So even if Guru Dev has rejected me and cut off my sikha and my Brahman thread, those are symbols from him, just like the married lady has a bindi and has bangles on her wrist, but she takes those things off when her husband takes sannyas or when he dies. So in the same way, the disciple, Gurudev has taken these external symbols away, but I'm not going to give him up. That should be the attitude of the disciple. I can never do that. I got a little bit off track. I'm sorry with your line, but it made me think of those things. And it's kind of an obvious line of thought. One thing also about cell phones and that, this is where we're at for a lot of us. And we can say, you know, I would like to just go everywhere in a bullock cart, and I'll never go by car, I'll never fly anywhere. And why not? You can do it, right? You can go someplace, there's a bullock cart, but can you do it? I don't, you know, maybe there's a few villagers in India who do like that, but we have a different karma. And I learned that a long time ago in India. When I first came, I just wanted to be a sadhu and live a very simple, renounced kind of life. And all that happens, I got extremely sick. So I couldn't even walk up steps. And then I realized I'm not an Indian sadhu. I'm a Bideshi, I'm a Westerner, and I have a certain karma, and let me be renounced in my particular way, but act according to my particular nature, my particular situation. And for most of us, cell phones are part of our life. But I really like the idea of having a yatra with no cell phones, or at least sessions with no cell phones. I mean, a lot of times I hear that devotees say, everybody turn off your cell phone, please. But even better than that, I think is you just don't bring it. But you know, I bring my cell phone to class, and whoever's giving the class, they're quoting from verses or something, and I'm looking them up, or I look up something else, and, you know, and it's useful. Krishna Kun brings her computer a lot of times. And the same thing, she's just taking notes and she's looking up verses or things. It has some utility also. But thanks for sharing that with us about going on Braj Mandal Parikrama with no cell phone. It's I can imagine you must feel kind of naked.
No, it was a lot of fun. I look forward to that. That's going to be my what do you call, you know, like when you do something good, you give yourself an award. That's going to be my award for spending a year in the West, is to give myself an award of 6 weeks of no phone.
You know, one of Niranjan Maharaj's oldest
Something.
disciples just left her body 2 days ago in Mayapur, 2 or 3 days ago, just very, very recently. And cell phone had a major role. Before she left her body, she was hearing every day from Gopi Geet and some different things. And when she's getting ready to leave her body, one of her god sisters was there, and she phoned Niranjan Maharaj. And she said, Guru Maharaj, your disciple, she's about ready to leave her body. And Niranjan Maharaj spoke to her through the smartphone. And then the call finished, and she left her body at that time.
Yeah.
So they're not all bad.
Yeah, Mar. Yeah. I mean, I'm also not saying that they have usefulness. That's why we use it for the whole year. It's useful in preaching, it's useful
Yeah.
for other purposes. I mean, without the phone, I won't be able to function in the West at all. All the bank accounts, you know, meetings, calling devotees, calling people, it's all connected to phone. You can't really get out of it.
But as Subal Sakha Prabhu said in the last session, weapons of mass distraction. That's a fact.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments on
All right.
that. I appreciate
Hare
it.
Krishna. Anybody else want to share anything? Okay. Anybody else? Anybody? Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and stop now. And we'll continue next week. Okay, so I'm expecting to give you a little preview here. Gosh, I think there's going to be 3 more sessions. We're going to have probably 11 sessions about Siddha-pranali. Let's understand it in a really deep way, in a really, really deep way. Our next session is about the holy name and Guru Seva, and how that's important in the connection with sadhu and the holy name. The session after that I'm contemplating is to speak about how the Trinada Pisanichina verse is our Siddha-pranali mantra. What does that mean exactly in connection with all the previous things we said? And then our 11th session, if it works like that, I'm thinking will be just an overview of the whole 11 sessions, so we can kind of try to sum it up and try to digest it in a better way. Okay, so thank you all very much for coming, taking part. And thank you, Dorothea. You're a great guest for your first time.
Thank you so much.
Such a nice group, isn't it?
Yes, I love it. I'm so happy, and it's really what I've been waiting for so many years. I mean, unconsciously and also consciously. So thank you so much for making this possible for me.
Hare Krishna. So next week, Krishna Kun, you just showed your face. Hare Krishna. Do you want to share some comment? Is that why you're showing your face or no? No? Okay. All right. Krishna Kun's at the temple right now. She's been cooking for Niranjan Maharaj, so she's not around here. Oh, I'm going for a walk and chant a few more rounds, and then I have a phone call coming from India later on. All right. Thank you all very much. Shri Nam Prabhu ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Gaur Premanandi Hari
Jai.
Hari Bo,
Hari
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha, Kripa Sindhubhyeva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha, Nanda